Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's all around us, but we rarely think about: professional lighting design. It's this incredible, invisible force that completely changes how we feel, how we work, really, how we interact with any given space. So, let me ask you a question to get us started. Think about it. What's the real difference between just a room, a basic office, a hallway, and an experience, a space that just feels right the moment you walk in, one where you just get the vibe instantly? Well, you probably guessed it from the title, but yeah, more often than not, the answer is light. Not just any light, but the careful, thoughtful, deliberate use of it. It's that perfect blend of art and science that takes a boring old room and turns it into something you remember. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. If you want to design with light, you've got to learn to speak its language first. We're going to break down the three sort of foundational ideas that every single designer leans on to shape how we see everything. First on the list is Lux. Now, this one's super important. Don't think about how bright a light bulb is. That's not what this is about. Lux is all about how much light actually lands on a surface. So how much light is hitting the page of the book you're reading? That's Lux. It's all about the impact, the light that gets the job done. Okay, next up, we've got color temperature, and we measure this in Kelvin. This is purely about the vibe of the light. You know that warm, cozy, almost amber glow you get from a lamp in your living room? That's a low Kelvin temperature. And then think about the complete opposite, that bright, almost bluish, crisp white light you'd find in an office. That's a high Kelvin value. It's basically the emotional fingerprint of the light. And our third key concept is the color rendering index, or CRI. Okay, have you ever bought a sweater in a store, love the color, and then you walk outside and it looks completely different? That's CRI at play. A high CRI score, we're talking over 90, means the light source is showing you the true colors of an object. So you can see why this is a massive deal for, say, a clothing store or an art gallery, right? All right, so now we've got the basic vocabulary down: Lux, Kelvin, CRI. Let's put it into practice and talk about picking the right tools for the job. Because, knowing the words is one thing, but actually using them to create something is a whole other ballgame. And wow, you can really see the power of that choice right here. Look at the warm light. That's what you want for a cozy restaurant or your bedroom. It feels inviting, relaxing. Now flip over to the cool light. See how it just feels more energetic, more focused. That's your ideal office lighting. It's amazing how this one decision, warm versus cool, can completely transform what a room is for. But of course, it's not just about the color temperature. A designer has a whole checklist of questions to run through. What's the light for? Is it for general mood? Is it for a specific task, like reading? Or are we trying to highlight a beautiful painting? And then you've got the practical stuff. How high is the ceiling? How much energy can we use? And what if it's a bathroom or an outdoor patio? Then you have to worry about durability, things like IP ratings for water and IK ratings for impact. It's a lot to juggle. Okay, so we've talked about the art now. Let's switch gears and get into the science. This is where we move from feelings and concepts to hard numbers. It's where designers have to prove their ideas will actually work, on paper and in software, long before anyone touches a real light fixture. And it all boils down to hitting a specific target. For a typical office desk, that magic number is 500 lux. And look, that's not just a number they pulled out of a hat. It's based on science. It's the sweet spot for keeping you focused and preventing your eyes from getting tired. A hallway might only need 150, but if you're doing really detailed work, you might need way, way more, like over 1,000. But here's the thing, just having a lot of light isn't enough. It has to be even. That's where something called the uniformity ratio comes in. Basically, it checks for dark spots. You don't want a room with super bright areas and then deep, harsh shadows. It's distracting and just feels off. So the goal is to get a score above 0.6, which means the light is spread out nice and smoothly. So you're probably wondering, how on earth do they figure all this out? Well, they use a fancy-sounding process called the luminous flux method. Think of it like a recipe. You start with your target lux, you mix in the room size, the color of the walls, and the formula tells you exactly how many lights you need. And then they plug it all into software like Dilux Evo to build a virtual 3D model of the room. They can see exactly how it's going to look before spending a single dollar. But hey, a computer simulation is one thing. The real world is another. So the next step is absolutely critical. It's the reality check. You got to get on site and test everything, making sure what was built actually matches the plan. And I'm not talking about just flipping a switch and saying, yep, it works. No, no, this is serious stuff. They do high voltage tests to make sure it's safe. They run the lights for hours on end to see if they overheat. And crucially, a technician walks around with a special light meter, a lux meter, and they physically measure the light on the desks to make sure it's hitting that 500 lux target. So after all that testing, where does all that data go? It gets compiled into a final formal document. You can literally think of it as the project's final report card. It's the proof that the design didn't just stay on paper, it was actually brought to life correctly. And here's what that scorecard looks like. It's super clear, no fluff. The desk surface, required 500 lux, we measured 510. Pass. The corridor? Pass. But look at the meeting table. The goal was 500, but it only hit 485. That's a fail. See? There's no hiding. It's just the hard data comparing the plan to reality. And here's what makes it professional. When something fails, the job isn't over. That report has to include a plan to fix it. So for that meeting table, the report won't just say, fail. It'll say, here's what you need to do to fix it. Maybe add another light, maybe adjust an existing one. It's all about getting it right. So I want to leave you with a final thought. Now that you've seen the whole process, the language, the math, the testing, I promise you, you won't be able to unsee it. The next time you walk into a space that just feels perfect, you'll know it wasn't an accident. You'll see the hidden design, the science, and the art that went into creating that feeling.